What it do, YouTube? It's the OG Mr. Mont. Back at y'all with another video. Check this out. Look like we got a fight coming up in March 12th that I made a video about maybe a month and a half ago. And that fight is Tony Harrison versus Tszyu. Tony Harrison initially, volunteered, kind of threw his name in the hat to replace Jermell Charlo, because Jermell Charlo got injured. I thought Tszyu had found another opponent, but apparently not. So now we got Tony Harrison, and I gave my thoughts on that fight and who I thought would win that fight. And and this fight is pretty much for the 154-pound WBO interim title, which is like a secondary title, basically the mandatory for the WBO at 154 pounds. But yeah, anyway, I initially gave my thoughts on this fight and how I thought the fight would go. And my stance hasn't changed on that. I still think that Tony Harrison is gonna beat Tszyu. I think he's gonna outbox Tszyu. I don't think he's gonna knock Tszyu out. I think he's gonna outbox Tszyu. Now, having said that, that's not to say that Tszyu is not a formidable opponent. He has the walk you down, come forward style, and Tony Harrison is susceptible to the big punch. His 3 fights that he lost, they were all by knockout, and he got caught with big punches and wasn't able to recover. So I never said that Tszyu didn't have a chance to win this fight. He possibly can corner Tony Harrison and catch Tony Harrison with a big shot and knock Tony Harrison out. But in my opinion, that's the only way that he can beat Tony Harrison. Especially when Tony Harrison is, when Tony Harrison is Tony Harrison and he's fighting his best fight, he's virtually impossible to outbox. And I just don't think that Tszyu has the style to outbox Tony Harrison. Now, like I said, I do anything is possible, but I think Tszyu's only shot is to corner Tony Harrison and try to land a big shot on him and hurt him and try to finish him. But I don't see that happening. I know it's possible for that to happen. I've already said that I really don't want to see a Jermell Charlo versus Tony Harrison 3. I mean, even though the first 2 fights were good fights, I had Jermell Charlo winning the first fight, and I explained why. I just thought Tony Harrison was landing the cleaner shots, but Jermell Charlo just simply outworked him in that fight. The second fight, I had Tony Harrison up in that fight, but of course Jermell Charlo has power, has a lot of power, and he caught Tony Harrison, and again Tony Harrison just couldn't recover, and Jermell Charlo finished him off. So I'm not really interested in seeing a Jermell Charlo versus Tony Harrison 3. If it happens, I'll watch it. But as far as Tszyu versus Tony Harrison, I'm gonna watch that as well. But I just think that Tony Harrison is too skilled of a boxer and moves too well for Tim Tszyu. Now, the kicker is that fight is happening in Australia, March 12th in Australia. So Tony Harrison gonna have to put on a boxing clinic, in my opinion. He's gonna have to put on a boxing clinic. I saw how the legendary Manny Pacquiao, in my opinion, got cheated against Jeff Horn in Australia. Granted, Jeff Horn did well against Pacquiao. He crowded Pacquiao, but I still think that Pacquiao won that fight. Matter of fact, it was one point in the fight that Pacquiao almost stopped Jeff Horn. So if Tony Harrison is gonna beat Tim Tszyu, he's gonna have to make it clear. He can't have a close fight with Tim Tszyu in Australia, or else they're gonna take it from him. And that's nothing against Australia. I just, when you take a legendary fighter like Manny Pacquiao, and like I said, it's just my opinion that he won that fight against Jeff Horn, and I think they took that fight from him. So I know Tony Harrison, if he doesn't clearly beat Jeff Horn, I wouldn't leave it to chance. If Tony Harrison don't clearly beat Tim Tszyu, you taking a big chance. So he needs to cross all his T's and dot all his I's in that fight. I'm talking about he needs to try to make that fight as one-sided as he possibly can. Now, Tony Harrison has some distinct advantages over Tim Tszyu. Tony Harrison has a 76.5-inch reach. He has extremely long arms. Tony Harrison is 6'1", but Tim Tszyu is 5'8". Tim Tszyu has a 72-inch reach. Tony Harrison has an extremely sharp jab. I mean, he has an excellent jab, and he can keep you occupied with that jab. So just getting past Tony Harrison's jab alone is going to be a tall task for Tim Tszyu. And when Tony Harrison wants to move, he can move. So it's like I said, it's going to be a tall task for Tim Tszyu to try to defeat Tony Harrison. But I think it's going to be a good fight. A good fight that Tony Harrison going to win. Now, if Tim Tszyu does, happen to win this fight by knockout or by decision, by a clear decision, I'm going to come back on here and I'll be the first to admit that, I got it wrong. I think Tim Tszyu is a good fighter. He's earned his spot. And I just think that Tony Harrison is simply the better boxer. And like I said, I could be wrong, just one man's opinion. But we just have to wait and see. And if Tim Tszyu wins the fight, I'll make a video congratulating him on it, and admitting that I was wrong. So anyway, but that's all I got. You guys tell me what you think. It's the OG Mr. Mont. Salute to the mighty LDBC, and I'm out.